So let me ask you something. Have you ever really stopped to wonder who you are? I mean, beyond your job, beyond your role in the family, beyond that nonstop voice in your head. In this explainer, we're going to dive deep into that question. We're going to explore this powerful, maybe even radical idea that the self we spend our whole lives trying to build up and protect, well, it might just be a beautiful illusion.
You know, it's so easy to think of ourselves as the sum of our experiences, right? All the good stuff, the tough times, our wins, our losses, that's me. But this question, it really makes you pause. Are you your experiences, or are you the one having the experiences? Let's just keep that thought in the back of our minds as we go.
All right, so our first stop is this big idea, the illusion of I. And this is the concept that the single, solid, stable self we feel like we are every day might not be as real as it feels.
It's kind of like your life is a big play, and you, the actor, you wear different costumes or guises depending on the scene. You've got the you at work, the you with your family, the you when you're out with friends. Each one has a slightly different script, a different way of showing up.
Let's make this super practical. Think about it. At work, your persona is probably professional, focused, and the story, the narrative in your head is all about, I need to be competent, I need to succeed. But then you get home, and that persona just melts away. You're more relaxed, more yourself, and the story changes to something like, okay, here I can just be me. So, which one is the real you? Or could it be that you're neither? That you're actually the one who's just watching all these different personas take the stage? And that is the big reveal right there. The illusion of I is really just a story. It's a story the mind creates that says you're this one, fixed, separate thing that needs constant protection. The big invitation here is to just shift your point of view, to stop seeing yourself as just the character in the movie, and to start realizing you're also this silent awareness that's watching the movie. And that simple little shift, well, it changes absolutely everything. Okay, but so what? Why does this even matter? Well, because when we get tangled up in this illusion, we'll call it the identity trap, it isn't just some abstract philosophical problem. It has very real and sometimes truly tragic consequences. Let me tell you a really sobering story that shows just how high the stakes can be. It's about a head teacher. Her school went through an inspection and got a rating that was lower than everyone expected. On the surface, it's a professional setback. It happens. But see, for her, this wasn't just a job. Being a successful head teacher was everything. It was her entire identity. That line between what she did and who she was had just completely vanished. And because she tied her entire sense of self to that one role, when it was threatened, she felt like she was being erased. Her entire worth as a human being felt like it was gone. Tragically, she decided her life just wasn't worth living anymore. This is the absolute extreme danger of the identity trap, when we forget that we are so much more than any single role we play. And it all comes down to this really powerful idea. We get so wrapped up in defining ourselves by what we do, our careers, our accomplishments, how well we perform, that we completely forget that our real value comes from simply being. So how do we get so turned around in the first place? Well, it often starts with what you could call a cultural magic trick, a huge misdirection that sends us all on a wild goose chase, looking for ourselves in all the wrong spots. You know the drill. We're taught from day one that the good stuff, happiness, a sense of worth, fulfillment, it's all out there. It's waiting for us in that next promotion, that next relationship, that next big achievement. We're told to search further and further away from ourselves. And so we do. The great chase begins. And it feels logical, right? But here's the trap. Step 1, we buy into the idea that our worth is external. Step 2, we spend our lives chasing those external things. And here's the crazy irony. Step 3, the more we chase, the further we actually get from that quiet, peaceful sense of self that was already there inside of us to begin with. But what if, just what if, we've been looking in the completely wrong direction? What if that feeling of being good enough that we're all desperately chasing isn't something you have to go out and earn? What if it's your birthright? What if the real treasure was never buried and has been sitting here in plain sight this whole time? So who's the master architect behind this whole illusion? Well, it's our own mind. Now, let's be clear. The mind isn't some kind of enemy, but it is a very, very predictable storyteller.
Our mind absolutely loves feeling like it's in control, like it knows the score. It's always trying to predict what's going to happen next and make sense of what just happened. The hilarious part is that it's wrong almost all the time. But don't tell the mind that. It's very, very invested in its own stories.
So if you were to write a job description for your mind, it looks something like this. First, it doesn't care about the actual objective truth. It just wants resolution. It hates not knowing. Second, to deal with that, it just makes up stories to fill in the blanks. It's like its own little press secretary, always spinning a narrative that makes sense so that you can get through the day. And believing those stories as if they're 100% true, that's where all the trouble starts.
Okay, so if you're not your job and you're not your achievements and you're not even the stories your mind is constantly spinning, then what's left? Who are you? And this, my friends, brings us to our final destination, the journey home, to awareness. This really breaks it down perfectly. On one side, you have the I that the mind creates. It's always changing, it tells all the stories, it gets caught up in the drama, it suffers. But on the other side, you have your true self, awareness, and it's totally different. It's constant, it doesn't tell the stories, it just quietly observes them. It's the space where all the roles get played out. It doesn't suffer, it just has perspective. And if you want something that'll really blow your mind, think about this. In about 10 years' time, give or take, pretty much every single cell in your body will have been replaced. Physically, you are not the same person you were a decade ago. So that begs a really fascinating question, doesn't it? If your body is always changing, if your thoughts are always changing, what's the one part of you that has been there through all of it, watching the whole show? Well, the answer is awareness itself. That quiet, steady presence is the only thing that's been constant. And that's the beautiful paradox here. This whole journey to find yourself is kind of the illusion, because you were never actually lost. The real journey is just about recognizing what has been here the entire time. So welcome home. Welcome home to the one thing that's truly real. The silent, peaceful awareness that is here right now, seeing it all. So I'll just leave you with this one last thing to chew on. Your mind, it's the storyteller. It's the movie director, constantly creating the film of your life. But the real question is, who's the one sitting in the audience, watching that movie? Thinking about that just might change everything. Thanks for exploring this with me.